Abuse of office. Now, that was one of the charges rejected in the Senate impeachment trial. But the Democrats should have filed the article against themselves, because they're the ones who are guilty of abusing their office and the public's trust. The president has been hunted, hounded, defamed, and investigated since the day he announced his run for the White House. Democrats, the deep state, and the media all conspired together to undermine his presidency by relentlessly impugning his character. He was a Russian stooge, remember that? Or Putin was blackmailing him. He was running a criminal enterprise. It was all false, all of it. They even went after his family, even the First Lady.
Around in her most rugged pair of construction stilettos. She's definitely digging an escape tunnel, right? I mean...
And so it's okay for Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump to do business all over the world. It's okay.
I think the bullseye in the family right now is on Jared Kushner.
They really are a mob family. They basically...
Are they numb? Are they dead inside? Are they paid off? I mean, what's their deal?
Yes, yes, and yes, but
Yes, yes, and yes. And then they impeached him, and they tried to remove him from office using a fake whistleblower who still hasn't had the guts to show his face. There was no impeachable conduct. There were no crimes. There was never intent to commit any. And yet, Adam Schiff wanted to inflict maximum pain on this president 10 months before the next election. And now, this is what gets me. Even after the president's acquittal, the Democrats are hinting at more impeachments. It's all they know how to do. And they even do that badly. What was the president expected to do after all this? Thank them?
You think he's going to try to heal the country? Not a chance.
It was mean-spirited, it was poisonous, it was spiteful.
Unscripted, vindictive.
This is somebody in deep psychological distress right now.
If this was a thoughtful person, he would have said, look, I've been acquitted. It's really now time to heal the nation. But he can't seem to do that.
What did they want, a bouquet of roses sent to Capitol Hill? The people who speculated about sending him to jail after he left office, or the people who threatened to have his lawyers disbarred? Those people? Whose phony investigations bankrupted good people? Donald Trump left a really comfortable life to run in hopes of making America a richer and more powerful country. And he has. The Democrats' only response was to plot and connive and conspire against him, regardless of the facts, regardless of the damage that it would do to our country. I was thinking about this today as I was sitting in that room watching him speak, fiery as ever, thanking people and also calling out all the right people. I thought to myself, you know, it didn't have to be this way. The Democrats could have tried to understand Trump voters, the people that Hillary called deplorable. They might have even tried to appeal to them. They could have moved expeditiously, the Democrats, to pass legislation that they actually agreed with, like the USMCA, instead of sitting on it for a year. They could have passed an infrastructure bill. Instead, they just pulled stupid stunts.
Democratic leaders walked out of a White House meeting just a short time ago after what Nancy Pelosi described as a presidential meltdown.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi left the meeting after some name-calling, accusing the president of having a, quote, meltdown over Syria.
See how it's all in sync? Democrats wouldn't even confirm mid-level political appointees of Donald Trump. And, of course, they went scorched earth on Kavanaugh. Their surrogates filed lawsuits against common-sense immigration rules and enforcement. And runaway judges issued nationwide injunctions that made our country less safe and tied the hands of law enforcement. So Trump was right. After all this, he needed to blow off a little steam today.
Adam Schiff is a vicious, horrible person. Nancy Pelosi is a horrible person. And if I didn't fire James Comey, we would have never found this stuff. Because when I fired that sleazebag, all hell broke out. It was evil, it was corrupt, it was dirty cops, it was leakers and liars. It was all... These people have gone stone cold crazy, but I've beaten them all my life. And I'll beat him again if I have to.
Oh, man, he torched him. It got hot in there. But he's exactly right. And excuse me if I don't give a fire extinguisher to the people who've been throwing flames at the president since Inauguration Day. When they say that, oh, we need more civility in politics, what they really mean is they want total control, where they call the shots, you sit down, you shut up, and you just keep shoveling taxes to Washington to pay for programs, by the way, that don't work and that you never supported. The Democrats are a party spent. They're a party at war with itself, one that even in defeat has grown corrupt and decadent. Its establishment can't even count votes in Iowa, or didn't want to count them. They're either incompetent or the ultimate election meddlers. The Democrats loved things during the Bush years, though, didn't they, when Republicans mostly played nice whenever the Democrat critics hit them really hard. And how did that all work out for the GOP in the end? The president has demonstrated that at the same time of all this stuff going on, all the attacks, that he can and will work with pretty much anyone, and he has. He's done this with incredibly smart and even powerful leaders who have a lot of scary weapons. He's worked with people like President Xi of China. But Nancy Pelosi sits on her hands, she smirks, she rips up papers, she storms out of rooms, she points, and she pulls other stunts. She doesn't want to work with him. What has she actually accomplished, other than emboldening the radicals in her own party? Oh, and by the way, do not believe for a second that this divisiveness and vitriol is only because of Trump and the Trump era. He caused it all. They relentlessly made fun of George W. Bush for being a dumb jock, and they called him a warmonger. They even ridiculed John McCain for marrying a rich wife who had 8 houses. They accused Mitt Romney of being a vulture capitalist and mean to dogs. They even trashed Sarah Palin's special needs child. Today is Ronald Reagan's birthday, my old boss. They said he was just a stupid actor who slept in the afternoons.
These are vicious people. They stick together. Historically, I'm not talking now. They stick together like glue.
Again, he's right, and they do. But when the Democrats threw down the gauntlet and tried to beat us in open combat this time around, they were met by an actual fighter. America elected a brawler like Trump and rejected a baller like Mitt. And that's the angle.